Well, welcome back, my fellow apes. I have a few more entries into my psychedelic diary, and they're kind of short, but I haven't read them in a while, so here you go. This is the first one. As the day turns into night, we realize the sun. As silence turns to noise, everything becomes just a bit quieter. Words aren't made for you. You feel more than you can say. Your front becomes more and more sure of itself, as the clam with the shiniest pearl has the thickest shell. You recognize the weakness in people who appear the least weak the most. The answer is never what you do. It will slip through your fingers and mock you on its way to the ground, so instead of trying to catch it, join it in its fall. You can't hold on to what's fluid, but you can swim in it. And this swim will commence whether you like it or not, because as full as your lungs have been of the water of life, you haven't drowned quite yet. You seem to float above this confusion against all odds, and it seems that you always have. So just swim. Float. The current is stronger than you ever will be, so become the flow to catch its infinite plan. And here I have another one. History is God playing with time. An absolute pure and ancient intelligence exists outside of the constraints of time. They call this intelligence God, thus demeaning this intelligence into a robed man sitting on a cloud in the sky. It's bigger than that. God isn't one thing. He is all things. And this intelligence doesn't manifest in a single point or person in space. This knowing and being and isness exists separate from space and time, but experiences finite existence and the flow of time through the window of material being, you and I being its eyes. To know yourself to your deepest layers and to live for yourself is the ultimate purpose. To constantly evolve and become is our duty, but this duty can be chosen against. We have the capacity to be in touch with a dimension higher than us, which allows us to step outside of ourselves and our time, but choose not to, as we fear ourselves the most. Don't do what you're told. You hold this intelligence and they forgot, so they treat you like a child, thus robbing you of your birthright to live strictly as you wish. You are all there is. You are literally the center of the universe. Look around. What's in the middle? Who's listening to this? You are all that there is. So live like it. And I got two more here. Here's another one. Welcome to the animal, the great beast. Welcome to the song, the beautiful performance. Welcome to the play, the big show. You knew from the very beginning that there was a certain craftsmanship to your life. There was a code. And the closer you listened to the song, the more meticulously you watched the play, the more time you spent with the beast, you realized it was predictable. The happiness fades into despair, and then the despair into joy. The joy transforms into apprehension, which inevitably disappears into bliss. And these hills and valleys are endless. The flaws in your life made you question its genuineness. If you listened close enough, you could hear a skip in the record. If you watched hard enough, you could see an actor break character and crack a smirk in the dark scenes. If you loved the beast thoroughly enough, you would notice it begin to love you back. You couldn't avoid noticing these things as hard as you tried. The inevitability of your success was blinding from the get-go, but so was the inevitability of your demise. Your path is winding and complex, and you see this. You chose the scenic route, and once you reached the peak and looked at the view, you realize you're still on the same path. The never-ending story of the boy on the trail. You know exactly where it ends, and know exactly how it began, but in between is the meat and potatoes. The show is put on by you, and your role will change as the path behind you lengthens. You might play the part of the naive, or of the enlightened, of the rude or the kind. You might play the role of the inconsolable, or the role of the articulate. No matter what, it's just a role. You are the great awareness playing with itself. The fact that you can look up at the stars and wonder what's out there is the whole point altogether. The stars happen in your mind anyway, don't they? Otherwise, it's simply invisible waves from thousands of light years away, striking the backside of your round face organs. But in your head, they're stars, and they're wonderful, full of wonder. You wonder what it means. You wonder why the path takes you backwards and forwards and left and right, and you wonder when you'll reach what you're walking towards. And that's it. The wonder is the entirety of it. It keeps you wanting more, and it keeps you on your toes. You're aware of awareness, conscious of consciousness, thoughtful about thoughts, and hopeful about hope. This is your luckiest misfortune. You see clearly. You knew it was all for nothing from the moment you understood death. So what does this mean? Does this mean give up early? Or does this mean that the journey down the path as a part of the song, a character in the play, with the great beast is an opportunity? It must be the latter. You are thrust into physical chaos with no memory of what comes before, and you will always wonder what comes after. But in the meantime, the stars shine for you, and you wonder why. That's a pretty good one. And I got one more here. Here it is. I've had many run-ins with what I can only call a power, or an intelligence, or a knowing much larger than I. I've met meaning, and finding meaning is deceiving in our world because it exists in deep disguise. We have a code of conduct to find meaning as a society. We are thrown into systems from birth, and we are told that this is human life as it should be and always will be. We are told the meaning of the week is to make it to the weekend. We are told the meaning of work is a wealthy retirement. We wait patiently for what has been here the whole time. We are even told that some things are meaningless, especially as a dreamer. Wonder has been eliminated in our culture because we operate under the illusion that someone high up in the political or religious ranks knows something. This is horribly untrue. The only truth is that nothing is true, and no individual knows anything. We have defied the very laws of physics we declared, here on Earth through our scientific play. We've turned lead into gold in labs just like the medieval alchemists set out to do hundreds of years ago. We can split atoms and mimic the operations of the sun. Your body itself is defiant of any type of laws of the universe. Symmetry, sentience, and organization in a self-maintaining form. We are miracles. Meaning is whatever you make it. Now what does this mean? I'm sure you've heard something similar before. Your father might have shut you up about your complaints by saying, "It's whatever you make it, son." This phrase is nearly incomprehensible, a skewed translation of one of, if not the biggest themes of life. To someone engulfed and completely converted by the systems of religion and politics in their society, this is all that life means to them. To them, the whole point of their life might be to retire from their torturous job, and once they do this, they might realize that it was all wasted. All for nothing, because whether you're a king or a peasant, you will die and are forgotten eventually. So what does this mean? This means that there is no set meaning to life. This means that meaning is as malleable as clay, your purpose as flexible as you're willing to bend it. Unfortunately, our culture is stiff and afraid to get its hands dirty. So there I sat last night, in front of my mirror, with dim light touching my face. I felt profound and alien. My articulation of the meaning I felt in that moment was this: I am. I am. I am it, and I am you, and I am God, but more importantly, I am a clueless ape. I am animal, and I am deity. I can see into this matrix of infinite information. I can gaze deep into the everything. I have seen perfection, I have met God, and I have received messages from the intergalactic elves from hyperspace. They showed me toys. And anyone can experience these things, but only the intelligent can comprehend the implications of these phenomena in their own life. Our culture is too uneducated to even entertain the idea that any of this means anything. But meaning means exactly what you mean. You say your life is wretched, then it is so. You declare yourself God, then it is so. Ask yourself next time you say something, what the fuck do you even mean? And that concludes this episode of my Psychedelic Diaries. Thanks for listening, boys and girls.